hi, welcome to the blog where I read horror books in February. I thought because it's February, so I'm gonna read a lot of romances automatically. I should do a vlog where I read mystery thrillers or horrors. And here we are. I don't know if you watched my TBR, but I did mention that one of the books I was gonna read is Imaginary Friends, I believe. Right? Which is a long ass book. Uh, I am keeping my hold on it at the library because I do want to read it, but the hold is like a month. There's no way I'm gonna get it before this, especially since it's a long book, right? So thankfully, my Buzzwordathon prompt book for the month of February also fits this prompt or fits this vlog. Did not realize that initially. So it's going to be two other books, and that one that I also have the hold of the ebook at Libby, and if it doesn't come in time, I can get the audiobook from Hoopla, so it's fine. So there's a possibility that this will be a audiobook also vlog, because I think it's like My Delicious Death is that the zombie one is one where zombies are like a thing, and so the government made something called synthetic flesh, synth flesh, so zombies could eat it and be like live with normal people, everyday stuff, whatnot, and just have to make sure to eat that so they don't eat other people, so they can like co-inhabit, whatnot. And there's a group of teenagers, I think they're teenagers, maybe college age kids, going to this music festival to just hang out. They have like a cooler full of sin flesh, but then one of them goes crazy and eats a kid, and all their sin flesh has gone missing. And the synopsis says something about secrets coming out, and I assume it's something to do with government secrets and blah 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 blah, right? I have the hold on the audiobook for that one. That should come in at any point. On Hoopla, I already have the audiobook for The Weight of Blood, by Tiffany D. Jackson, which is a book I wanted to read as soon as I heard it was gonna be a thing, right? I think it came out around the time I read Grown, which is the only Tiffany D. Jackson I've read. God, that book. I think about it on a regular basis. But basically, I remember rereading the synopsis around the time that I filmed my TBR, and I was like, good God, give that to me now. Basically, the main character, whose name I do not know, the basic premise is like Carrie, but with racism, but basically, I think it takes place in Georgia, somewhere southern, right? And she is black, but passing. Her father is white, and I don't know where her mother is in the picture, but she's passing, and so she goes to school, and everyone just assumes she's white, and she's horrendously bullied every day, and all this stuff. One day, she's going to school, and there's a rainstorm or something like that, and the secret comes out. I have some guesses on how that happens, but basically, people then realize, oh shit. And then it comes out that like this girl who has horrendously been bullied for years is also not white, and nobody knew it. And so then people on the internet are like, how dare you? So then to make up for it, the school holds these, like, the all white school board decides to hold like their first, I forget the exact term they use in the synopsis, but something about like interconnected prom or interracial prom, something like that, right? Which is dumb AF, right? Right? I think we all recognize this. And the head, who is like the cheerleader, white girl, blah blah blah, wants her boyfriend, who is the black football player, to take the main character to prom, and whatnot. And I assume people go, hey, we can't do this, white people, yay. And then something happens. The cover's gorgeous. I think there's gonna be a revenge plot. Listen, in theory, Carrie, I haven't read Carrie, but Carrie is so me-coded. I love revenge books, especially woman revenge books, okay? It seems like my type of thing. So I'm into it, okay? I'm very excited to pick up that one. And then the last one that was the Buzzwordathon prompt is The Good House, which is, I don't remember properly, but also like 500 something pages. But it's like a haunted house type book. if I remember properly, that's the whole entire reason why I put on my 24 and 2024. That's another thing, you know, who fits that? Because I've gone really into those recently, and it seemed like a good book to like use for that on my 24 and 2024. And yeah, that's basically all I know about it. It's haunted house type thing going on. I'm excited to read it though. I've heard really, really good things. So, hello, hi. This delicious death. That's what I'm updating you about because I started it. I'm 71% of the way through the audiobook. I am planning to read the whole thing today. Because it's kind of short. It's like 8.5 hours long. The way I'm describing it is it gives the troop mixed with basically any Mason Deaver, right? Because it's got the horror aspects of it very much reminds me of the troop. And that one, is it like Feed or something like that? The Sean McGuire, or maybe it's Merrick Grant. I think it actually may be Merrick Grant. Zombie apocalypse one, mixed with the queer commentary and life commentary of Mason Deaver. I guess it's the best way to describe it. Also the whole aspect where the main character is secretly in love with her best friend, and whatnot. So there's that. It's a good time. They're at the music festival. Like immediately things start going wrong, where one of them kills a guy, and then they all work together to eat him. And it's like they try to hide the body and figure out what's happening. Why did she go feral, despite the fact that she had eaten some flesh recently? But also at the same time, similar to the troop, in the beginning of each chapter, there's like descriptions of either each of the girls when all the ghoul stuff, zombie stuff started happening, right? Or like news articles and whatnot. So that's interesting. That's happening at the beginning of each chapter. I have like 7 chapters left, right? And then so they're trying to figure out the conspiracy on how she got feral to kill the guy, right? Because like she had just eaten, it makes no sense. All this stuff has something to do with something in a drink. And also there's like a lab nearby that was working with limes, something to do with limes and ghouls, and something about the stuff that she was drugged with had something to do with limes, right? That made her go feral. And then combine all that with the fact that there's like these new type of ghouls that are different, and whatnot, and human experimentation, but like, is it really human? Because are they really human type aspect going on, right? But there's also romance. I'm pretty sure what just happened is the main character is in love with her best friend, and she is bi and dancing with like a bandmate of the guy that they killed, right? And they kiss, and the friend sees it and then runs off. So like I'm assuming right now that she is also into her, and neither one of them just talk about it. Here's the thing. I'm having a hard time like separating the 4 of them. Like, I recognize there's the main character who is the not really shy one, but definitely like standoffish one, right? Who generally doesn't like people. There is I think one of them, the one is the makeup artist, is also trans, but I don't know. I don't know. And whatnot. And if I'm right, right, the people she killed when she first turned were 2 Nazis who tried to kill her and her brother, her younger brother, who was like 10 at the time, right? And then there's her best friend, who I think also has something on social media, I don't know, who they were friends before the 4 of them were turned into ghouls and were like people outcast them, blah blah blah, because of it, right? And she killed someone first, and then they were like out on like a retreat thing, summer camp thing, when everything happened. And so they were like in the woods together for like weeks, and they're basically family. The main character's parents actually are the worst, right? And then there's the other one who is hitting on the head lead of the band a lot and is doing questionable things and whatnot. And she is the one that was drugged, and she never killed anyone technically as a ghoul, but she did at one point when she was turning find a body and eat it, and then the star football player came up behind her and he was like, that was my body, and now it like thinks that she's gonna tell everyone that he killed this guy, this random homeless man, so he tries to kill her, and so she kills him in self-defense accidentally, right? I'm pretty sure, but also in my brain they're overlapping. So I don't know, and I don't think it's me. If I was reading the ebook, maybe. If I did ebook instead of audio, maybe. But I don't know, it's, my brain hurts trying to figure out which characters are which, right? Which is not really good. That being said, I am liking it. I'm assuming there's gonna be some kind of revelation. There was just a mini revelation, because I didn't trust the bandmate that the main character is into and kissed. I didn't trust him, right? Because he seemed too nice in comparison to all his bandmates, and it turns out he has secretly been a ghoul this whole time as well. So like there's that, but like I assume there's gonna be some big revelation at the end, and that's gonna basically decide whether or not it's a 3 or a 3.5 for me. And I'll let you know that when I finish it in like 2 hours, because I gotta go make dumplings. So guess who just finished the book after making dumplings? It's me. Thoughts, opinions. Yeah. I predicted the plot twist / revelations, the romance aspect. I'm pretty sure by the end I had all the characters straightened out, or which ones were which. I'm pretty sure when I was trying to describe them, I got them all right. Right? But because of that, I'm giving it 3 stars. It was fine. Yeah, I just learned that the author is also the author of My Dearest Darkest, which is a book I've been contemplating putting on my TBR for a while, so maybe I'll think about it. But that's it. Like, that's it. I'll probably do The Weight of the Blood next, because that's the one I have on Hoopla, so, currently, so, that's the plan. Hello, hi. My face looks like a mess because facial eczema is kicking my ass. And last time this happened in fall, I'm pretty sure if you went back to my vlogs, you could tell which ones I had it in, because I would like rarely update, and then when I updated it was like 3 minutes, which led to like 20-minute vlogs, right? This one's lasting much longer, so we're gonna just ignore it. If I start crying, it's just because it burned. It's fine every time I play. The Weight of Blood. I started the audiobook the other day. I got to 17%. I haven't read more because I have to read other things before I can finish it, but I do kind of want to finish it tonight. We'll see. Maybe tomorrow morning. Basically, I think I've already talked about the synopsis and everything. I do really like the way that it's written. I've never read the original Carrie. I've never read Carrie. And I have watched a few of the adaptations, right? So I'm pretty sure there's like this thing in the original where you can, or it's like told from the future as like interviews and whatnot, about what happened that night, right? So imagine that. So there's like a true crime podcast trying to figure out what happened that day where only 2 people survived, and everyone says that, I think her name's Maddie, did it, and all this stuff, and investigating that, but we're also starts the day of her being outed as half black, and then all this other stuff, right? I think there's also newspaper or news interviews or talks and whatnot. It's a full cast audiobook, so recommend it for that reason. Also, whenever it switches to the podcast duo, it like plays a sound effect, if I remember properly, and so that's interesting. I've heard audiobooks that have sound effects when things like that happen before, and that sound effect goes for like way too long, so you can't hear what the people are actually saying. This one, that's not an issue, so that's fine. But yes, as I expected. I expected the people figuring out she's black was going to be either, because it's like small town Georgia, so I assumed like it's sunny most days and all this stuff. So like one day it suddenly rains and it's not supposed to rain, and either something to do with her hair or some type of like foundation that she wears. It was her hair. And she's immediately very nervous, and the gym teacher just yells at her to go to class. Her next class, I mean, we all know there's gonna be racism and bullying. Kids, one, laugh at her, and then two, start throwing pencils into her natural hair. Right? This is the fun part where I bring up the fact that I remember no characters' names except for Maddie's. And then the teacher of that class yells at them, and she goes to the principal. Right? There's this whole thing where like even those, like everyone who teaches at the school, the front desk lady even is just staring at her constantly, and all this stuff. Like she's a hot commodity. I think there was also a thing where one of the kids in the class like actually pulled out a chunk of her hair, if not played with her hair. Right? And she was just begging them to stop while she's crying, you know? So the teacher is like with the principal, and he's all like, I don't understand what the issue is here, all this stuff. She's very much the type of white person who has sometimes questionable microaggression thoughts, like being like, oh my god, I can't believe she's black, but then recognizes, hey, I'm acting like everyone else when I think that. So then tries to hide the fact that she has those microaggression thoughts, or just thoughts in general, right? Because like finding out this random student you didn't know was black out of the blue, it's kind of a shocking thing. Like you can go, it's a shocking thing. Like I'm pretty sure most people would be like, hey, I didn't know that, right? But she feels like she is like everyone else when she does that. So to hide the fact that she is thinking that she is better than everyone else and all this stuff because she doesn't have microaggressions and she isn't straight up racism stuff going on, she yells at everyone else to hide it, and so she yells at the principal, and she's like, this whole, like, the class has to go through sensitive training as well as the student or the teachers, because like the way that they're staring at her, right? And he doesn't understand why. She's like, because one of your students was black and nobody recognized it, right? There's this whole thing about like questioning how. That's a fun time. And all this stuff, great. He makes a plan where she's just not gonna take that class anymore. She's just gonna have study hall, because like that'll solve the issue, right? Right. And then she's like, okay, now you have to talk to the girl, and he comes out and instantly yells her name, and so she's like very scared, timid, whatnot, freaked out, and the teacher yells at him, and tries to talk to her, sits down next to her, and puts her hand on her knee, and like, hear me out, her father's abusive, and so when the principal is all like, hey, I have to call your father and all this stuff, but you can go home, she is like begging him not to call her father, she's crying, she's like curled up in a ball when the teacher puts her hand on her knee, like, all this stuff that at least one person here has to have training to recognize these signals, right? But yeah, then she goes home. Guess what? Her dad's also racist. I do know that in the Elise movies, Carrie, Carrie's mother is very religious, and there's a lot of religious trauma and abuse around that, right? In this one, imagine similar things, but racism. I would not be surprised if there's this twist that either he like kidnapped her or something, or that the relationship that led to the creation of her was non-consensual. I would not be surprised. Okay. Right. So he comes home yelling that she should have checked the weather, and then throws her in her prayer closet. You see the parallels. But instead of like Jesus or anything like that, it is all the walls are plastered with pictures from magazines and whatnot of beautiful white woman, typically blonde, blue-eyed. Specifically, all the blue-eyed ones are like looking directly at her, which very much was giving me was it The Bluest Eyes by Toni Morrison? The Bluest Eye. I did stand up and check because it's right there. It's up on top. Very much giving me that. And then also, when he comb trains her hair. So apparently there's like this whole thing where like he tried all these chemical treatments to tame her hair, that caused like blisters that were noticeable and all of this stuff. So he hot combs it once a week, and while he does it, he asks her questions, and if she doesn't answer them properly, very white patriotic history lessons, right? And if she doesn't answer them properly, he purposely burns her. Good times. Now, other characters. So there's two head cheerleaders. I don't remember either one of them's names. So far, we haven't got one of those POVs. The other one is her best friend. The one that we don't get the POV of, that I'm pretty sure, is the one who threw the pencils, right? And I'll get back to her. But her friend happens to pretend that she's rich but is actually really poor. Her boyfriend happens to be like this big guy in football on the team, and black. So she's all going to him, talking about how, like, did he know, and all this stuff. And there's heavy hints that he's not accepted among the other black students in the school, mostly because he views them as complaining about microaggressions that happen, and they're not really important or not a big deal or don't actually happen. Meanwhile, literally, as he's saying this, his girlfriend and his friends are either aggressing, I don't know, him, or two, talking about how they literally bullied this girl to the point where she was crying, begging them to stop, and they just laughed about it and say, like, she should have just let it go. Right? Right? There's like this whole thing where he wants to go to, he's going to this one school for football. His parents are very hard on him and whatnot. And his girlfriend, he thinks that she's going to her dream school, which is Brown, but she's actually planning to go to the same school as him. And like she has like this whole future planned where she wants to like become like basically his manager, and they're gonna have like the perfect home and perfect family and all this stuff. And then the friend who threw the pencils says something about, if you have kids with him, you'll want them to look like Maddie because then you can hide it. And she recognizes that that is accurate, right? Right? Yeah. So great times. We love it. Other things. So there's this whole thing where nobody got in trouble for any of the shit that happened in that classroom. Did I also mention the weird freaky magic stuff started happening in that classroom because when it was happening, there was like an earthquake, but it was only felt in that classroom, and windows shattered and a bunch of other stuff happened, right? So she nobody got in trouble for it because like no one saw anything. Cough cough. As literally at the same time he's saying nobody saw it, the kids are out in the hallway, and the girlfriend of football player is saying that her best friend was the one who did it. Right? So he did a really good job questioning who did it. Right? And so someone recorded it and posted it online. Which I assume this is going to come into play, in which the head cheerleader who threw the pencils is going to be unable to go to prom now because of this, right? And then there's this whole thing where it goes like viral on the internet, and the news is talking about how there's all this racial stuff going on in this small town, and nobody cares, especially in the school, to this one girl. It becomes like big news and all this stuff, and like news people are coming around, talking, asking questions, and they ask this one girl on the street, and she brings up, of course it's got to be just covered up, like the school is saying like they're investigating it, but like that's all they're saying, and she's all like, yeah, it's gonna be covered up, we all know it's gonna be covered up, this is a school that still has a segregated prom. Like, I do, but still, like, and that's where I left off, where she's all like, it's a segregated prom, like, really think they're not gonna cover it up. So yeah, that is what's happening right now. There's also, like, at the same time as all this, there is a podcast host who believes in, like, there's a whole bunch of theories about what really happened the night of prom, right? And he is hosting this podcast talking about it and all the different theories about what happened and all this stuff. And he has this co-host who I think is Australian, who is skeptical about all of it, and right. So that stuff is like happening around the same time, like from the future, like a year after or something. Maybe a year, maybe later. I don't know. The fact that no one in the podcast has brought up the abusive aspect of anything, or the fact that she was bullied and had to deal with racism, they're just like, it's Maddie's fault. But how? And no one's asking why, and you know. Also there's theories that Maddie is still alive somehow. And I really hope she somehow manages to survive whatever happens and is just thriving, okay? But yes, I do want to finish it tonight. I would like everyone to know that Tiffany D. Jackson is one of 3 authors, along with Katie Robert and Tracy Dion, where they could write the label for a Tabasco bottle, and I would read that shit. Okay? Like, it's so good. And yeah, that's my update. I don't know. I don't have anything else to say. I'm gonna go finish the other things I have to read so I can finish this book. Right, this is fast update because eyes burning because eczema. We love it. I finished book. Like 30 minutes ago on sprints. I wasn't planning to finish all sprints. It's good. It's good. It's so good. I managed to pick up the ebook. Hear me out. The audiobook is good. The fact that it's full cast and whatnot is really good. It's really done all this stuff. I just had an issue, especially the fact that I listen to audiobooks really fast, just naturally. Being able to tell when it switches POVs, especially since it's like in the middle of chapters constantly, right? So surprised to me, it was up on Kindle Unlimited, and I happened to have Kindle Unlimited until the end of the month. So I picked it up and read along. It was good. I highlighted sections. It was so good. It did the full range of emotions I felt. Like Tiffany, why would you do that to me? Tiffany. I do enjoy the aspect that when everything hits a fan, and whatnot, you know what to expect. You know there's gonna be carnage and whatnot. And it does like say like this person lost this party part, or their head, someone's cut in half, things like that. But like, it's not like going into gruesome detail. It's just like stating and then moving on. Like, it's not the focus. It's not the important part. The important part is everything that happened up to this point to get her to this point and whatnot. Yeah. And I have 2 headcanons. One is that, Tanya, I think is the co-host name, the woman co-host of the podcast of the book, at the very end of the book, very, very, very end, she asks him, who's like very obsessed with this case and everything, if Maddie was there, what would he say to her? And I have just like this little inkling in my brain that's just like, what if she's Maddie? But my real headcanon is that she moved out west with Kenny, and they're living happily ever after, and they're just happy. Okay. The way that no one knew the extent of the abuse she went through, just like, ooh. Also, the way that she described the abuse and bullying she went through at high school, at which point everyone tried to erase that ever happened. She described it personally as torture. Yeah. So that's good. Yeah. There's so many great lines. It was just so good. It's so good. There was like one part of the ending. So I was talking about it on sprints. So I clicked in my brain how, where after everything, these 2 guys came to town and were looking for Maddie, thinking that she was possibly still alive, saying that they were her uncles. And I was like, I'm kind of suspicious about that. But then I remembered her father was like the youngest by like 18 years, and that he had 2 older brothers who had moved away and like never came back as soon as they were able to and whatnot. Gives you the idea of what type of household he grew up in, because it's also kind of about the continued cycle of abuse. Good times. So I remember that was the thing, and I was like, oh, that makes so much more sense. It was all around great, really well written, and I love how, other than a reread, this is my first 5-star of the year. Thank God. It's so good. I highly recommend. Anyways, it's The Good House is the next one. I'm pretty sure. For this vlog, yes, it's Monday. Yes, I'm gonna still try to read it before Wednesday and edit this whole thing. Yes, it's like 22 and a half hours long or something like that. I don't, my brain's gonna hurt, but I'm gonna read it. I'm gonna read it. I'm gonna speed that shit up. Um, I can do 3.5 speed easily. So I'm just gonna go that fast, and still gonna take me something like 6 hours, 6.5 hours. But that's fine. And I'm gonna listen to that and have a good time, I assume. Because a good haunted house horror seems like a fun time right now. Don't you love Romance Month? It's literally days before Valentine's Day. So of course I'm reading horror. Listen, if I wasn't reading horror, I'd be reading a series that is romance technically, but one of them is a serial killer, so like, hello, hi. It's a good thing the fish didn't put the Good House on the thumbnail, because I started it. I got to 11%, which is like going to for the 4th chapter, right? And I've decided to softy enough it. Everything from the synopsis to what friends I trust have rated this book, I should like it. But I feel like I'm just rushing through it. I want to get through this vlog, but also get to other books that I want to read more. So instead, I'm gonna end the vlog. And whatnot. When I do finish it, probably this month. I'm probably gonna still read it this month. It's just not gonna be until next week, right? I will put it in the comments when I read it. When I finish it, and then pin that comment. So like, check that out in like a weekish. But yeah, all I'm thinking about is like other books, and I just feel like I'm rushing through it to get through it, and mixed with my not in the mood to read it instead of other things, making like, I don't want it to lower my rating, because like, and hear me out, the whole story is about Angela, whose grandmother in the past, like, it is described as witchy things, but like not witchy things, right? Possibly a demon in her house, and then she went home with her husband and son to like to the family home one summer, and her son committed suicide. And so now it's like 2 years after the fact, I think it is, trying to deal with everything afterwards. Let's just say she was angry at her husband after the fact because the gun her son used happened to be the gun that years prior he said that he got rid of, because they got in like a huge fight. There was like this really big fight about the gun, and she said she like forced him to get rid of it, and when he did, and he showed her evidence, he called her like a bitch and like yelled at her about it, right? But there's like no way that's like a coincidence or just like a complete replica, right? So like, she blames her husband, and then she also blames herself because like the weird magic stuff going on with her family tried to warn her that something was gonna happen. But the caregivers of the house say that someone wants to try to buy it, and will honor like the house and her grandmother and whatnot if they buy it. So her friend, who is also a client of hers, because she is like a manager or something of actors, I think, she tells her, hey, go back home, see what you have to see, like experience being in that house again, and then decide, and offers to go with her. And so I'm at the point where I think they're gonna go, but like, I'm pretty sure chapter 4 switches POVs to the father of the best friend of her son, right? I don't know. So like, hear me out, I think I'll like it. Like, it's got some weird magic stuff going on, some weird house stuff going on, and then there's also like a weird mystery going on. It seems like something I'd like, but I'm just like, I'm thinking about all the other books I want to read instead right now. So once I knock those out of the way, I'll read this, I'll finish it. So I'm softy and effing, and I feel bad at 11%. And yeah, I don't have anything else to say. I'm gonna get to do picking my finger, I guess. So I guess what I'll say is I'll see you in the next vlog, which is me finishing series. I don't know. Like and subscribe, I guess. I don't know. Apparently you're supposed to say that. And that's that. Listen, at least we had my first 5-star of the year in this vlog. I forgot that I read this delicious death for this vlog, so that's fun. But yeah, that's everything. I'm gonna go